It's finally here. This week's episode of The Bachelorette brought us our first bit of footage with the new lead, Tayshia Adams, who's going to be coming in and taking over for Clare Crawley as early as next episode. And after the exhausting episode we got last Tuesday, this couldn't have come at a better time. But before we get there and start discussing who I think is going to be a frontrunner for Tayshia's heart, which I do have ideas on and some evidence to back it up, we still need to see the dramatic conclusion of Clare's part of the season and her soon-to-be departure from the show, which, next week, is going to air on Thursday, November 5th, instead of the typical Tuesday night due to the election. So remember, Thursday the 5th, that's 1 week from the day this video's been uploaded. With that said, you know how this goes. Please no posting outright spoilers in the comments section unless they're sleuthed out, and I'll leave a link to the full preview in the description below.
The path we're on right now, it doesn't end well for anybody.
I just waited so long for this.
Okay.
We start the preview off with Chris Harrison and Clare sitting down to talk about the end of her time as the lead, and Chris Harrison gets to say his famous line,
"You've just blown up the Bachelorette."
Which is an interesting bit of phrasing. There has been a lot of speculation on the details of Clare leaving early, and some people have mentioned that perhaps Clare leaves because of a family member or a circumstance from outside of the show. And whatever that is, it causes her to make a decision to leave, and she decides to bring Dale. But if something like that happened, I feel like Chris Harrison saying "you've just blown up the Bachelorette" would be pretty insensitive. Like, "Hey Chris Harrison, I gotta leave cause my mom's not well." "Well Clare, you've just blown up the Bachelorette." Not to mention Chris Harrison's foreboding words, "this path doesn't end well," which implies that this decision is Clare's. Which, if we look at the narrative that's being put forward by the show, makes sense. Clare falls for Dale, the men start getting upset, Clare sees no point in moving forward and ends it. Yes, I'm sure the show also has had their hand in this decision as well, but the language used in this segment has me believe that, at least from what they're going to air, this will be portrayed as a Clare decision where she simply leaves with Dale. Moving on.
This is hard.
Claire's gone, and I still haven't fully comprehended what the hell's going on.
Clare is gone, and Blake is befumbled. They also throw out this shot of Dale to make it seem like maybe Dale is also confused as to why Clare left, but this is almost assuredly a fake out. If Clare goes, Dale's going with her. Now Clare here seems to be upset because of a conversation she has with the men. We can tell because check out what Clare's wearing in this shot. It's the same sweater Clare wears while sitting down with the men in this shot from a past preview, and we'll see later on in this preview. Check out what she says.
I'll never apologize for love. I'll apologize if I wasted your time. I'll apologize if I hurt you.
So we can start to imagine that Clare's sitting down to talk about her relationship with Dale, and then storms off upset. Now what I'm wondering is, in this shot, is Clare breaking the news to the guys that she's leaving with Dale? Or is this simply a discussion about how the men are all roasting Dale, and she's not happy about that? If that's the case, I doubt the guys are just going to say, "sorry." I'm sure there's going to be some pushback leading to Clare getting upset. And perhaps the result of that is the catalyst for Clare deciding to leave the show. We'll see.
What about me? Just tell me. That's all I want to know. This is a two-way street.
Alright, here we have Jason angry at what the preview implies is Clare. And yes, it very well could be Clare he's talking about, but my spidey senses are tingling here because this moment of anger from Jason seems to align well with this shot of him before, where he's telling someone, "we caught you in a lie," and that someone seems to be sitting across from him, and the thumb looks like a man's. Of course, him also saying, quote, "this is a two-way street," definitely would mean he's talking about Clare. He doesn't have a two-way street thing going with Dale or Chasen or whatever. So here, it could be Clare he's frustrated about and is just venting to someone. And as I think about it more, Jason would be very justified in his anger at Clare after she took him on that one-on-one date where she asked him to open up and be honest with her. Because then, to have her not be honest or open about how she's feeling about Dale, yeah, I'd be upset too. What about me? You asked me to open up to you in a very deep way on our first ever date. Isn't this a two-way street? Why won't you just be honest with me the same way you asked me to be honest with you?
Doesn't seem to make sense to me right now.
You can tell that guys are getting drained and fed up.
You're gonna start seeing a different side of me.
It's frustrating as hell.
I'm gonna freak the out.
And now the fallout is a group of frustrated men. But we've already been seeing that set in over the course of the last episode. It'll be interesting to see if any guys actually leave and don't stay for Tayshia. If there's any one man who's going to do that, it looks like Jason would be the most likely one to do so. Time will have to tell.
We put ourselves on the line. Like, we did everything you asked.
I'll apologize if I wasted your time. I'll apologize if I hurt you.
Why am I here?
And here's that conversation with Clare and the men where they're asking WTF Clare, and Clare's responding, I'll apologize if I wasted your time, I'll apologize if I hurt you. But it cuts off right there, and in a past preview we actually got more to the sentence.
I'll apologize if I hurt you, but I'm not gonna apologize for love.
So while this latest preview kind of implies an apologetic Clare to the men, it's a little more complicated than that. Clare's not going to apologize for love, and that seems pretty on brand for her.
Everything crumbled in an instant.
What the just happened?
Alright, pause, because all of these shots here of the men packing their bags, this has fake out written all over it. Like, oh my, are the men all going to leave? Is Tayshia going to come in and it's just Chris Harrison there with a mimosa saying, I'm it, Tay, I'm the only one left? No. For all we know, this is actually footage from when they arrived or something. The men aren't going to be leaving, or if they do, it will be like 1 or 2 guys.
We have never dealt with anything like this in the history of our show.
And I'm confused as all.
What is next?
Alright, I'm starting to see the narrative here. Now we have Chris Harrison jumping in to tell the guys what's up with Clare. We'll go through the structure of the episode in a second, but for now, get ready. Here it is, the new Tayshia footage. And there, the preview ends, with a teaser of Tayshia, who 1, looks amazing, 2, they really love the Tayshia in the pool angle, like check out this shot from Bachelor in Paradise, oh and this exact same shot again from Paradise. My one complaint though is I wish there was more than just this sexy shot, and for those who are at home and don't actually know about Tayshia coming in as the new lead, they might be really confused by what's going on here. And they're not even gonna put up her name on the screen or anything? Oh, okay. But whatever, very exciting still, we have some Tayshia acknowledgement at last. So let's now talk about how this next episode is going to work, what it'll look like with Tayshia coming in, and who I think are already frontrunners for Tayshia's final rose. Now we've seen from this and past previews what I think is enough to tell us how week 4 is going to go down, at least the broad strokes of it. So everything that's happened last episode leads to Chris Harrison and Clare sitting down for a chat. Whether it's because of the group date from last episode or because of this moment with Clare sitting down with the men, whatever it is, we end up here. Clare obviously lays it out and says, it's Dale, I'm just here for Dale. Chris Harrison says, cool, sounds good, and he goes to tell the men who are confused and upset. Then, this happens. Remember this footage from the pre-season previews, with Clare in the red dress on a date with Dale? Remember this little snippet?
You want clarity.
I'm so falling in love with you.
Well, we obviously didn't see this as a one-on-one in the first couple of episodes, so I'd wager now that this is, as we speculated a while back, a date that Clare and Dale have after it's been already decided that she only wants him. My guess is, based on the way she says she's falling in love and not in love, is that this is going to be the first time Clare shares this bit of info with him, and therefore this date is going to happen right after she ends the show, and not something like way down the line in a sort of let's check in on how Clare and Dale are doing kind of thing. Something that I could see them doing at the Men Tell All or the After the Final Rose. The two then ride off into the sunset, and speculation has been that at some point, they get engaged. Now, that might be saved for later on in the season, but with how fast things have been going for Clare, who knows? Could be any time. Okay, cut back to Chris Harrison and the men, and Chris Harrison lets them know that they have a second chance at love with Tayshia. New season begins, with Tayshia coming in for a brand new night 1 here, as was teased in a past preview. Which leads me to Men for Tayshia. In the first preview for the season, I mentioned 4 names: Ben, Zach, Riley, and Blake. Cut Blake immediately from that list right now. I just think he's not had the best edit and he's been too tied to Clare. Riley is mostly a guest based on screen time, but Ben and Zach are my clear frontrunners for Tayshia. Zach, because of this shot. With how little time Clare has left in the show, there is no way that this shot right here is actually of Clare. So we can now safely assume it was Tayshia all along. Cheeky little addition there by the editors. But with how little one-on-one footage they had of Clare, you can understand why they put this in. And alongside Tayshia here, it's almost certainly Zach. Now, of course, this could be from any date and doesn't mean he's going to be the final pick, but it's some solid evidence that Zach has a connection ahead of him with Tayshia. My number one guy, however, who if you forced me to put a bet down right now, I'd put it on him, is Ben. And for multiple reasons. Reason 1, they cut his kiss with Clare from night 1. Why do that? It was only one of 3 kisses on the night, and they left it on the editing room floor. Maybe they didn't want the person Tayshia picks in the end having too much of a romance with someone else. Reason 2, this footage from the season preview. Check it out.
The way that you make me feel is the way that I've been wanting to feel my entire life.
I speculated before that this could actually be Ben and Tayshia, but in the preview, because it was the first season preview, the editors cut to Clare. We can now once again safely assume though that this is Ben with Tayshia. At this point, there's just no time left for Ben to be telling this to Clare, and it makes no sense for this scene to happen in the next episode with all of the Clare/Dale stuff going down. And yes, I double-checked each of the dates Ben has been on to see if there was a possibility he was wearing this same shirt on a past group date and they just cut the footage again from the show. Nope, he has not worn this on a past date. This shot is from an episode ahead of us where he tells Tayshia he's never felt this way before. And if you need to see his outfits, here is Ben at the day portion of the first Love Languages group date. Here he is at the night portion, here he is at last episode's group date, and the rest of the time, be it night 1 or at a cocktail party or rose ceremony, he's in a suit. Ben's also just had a fantastic edit. I think he's had the best edit of all the men this season so far. He's had enough screen time to make him recognizable, he never says anything bad, they highlighted him in that Love Languages group date right off the bat. They even showcased him trying not to focus on Dale with Clare last episode.
I have not brought up another man to her, but she asked me directly about Dale. Like, I want to know more about this woman.
So as far as I'm concerned, this guy is my frontrunner right now, and I'll be keeping a close eye when Tayshia's season finally rolls around. So that's it for this preview breakdown for week 4 of The Bachelorette. Really hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure to give it a like if you did, and subscribe for more. There's a whole lot of mess ahead of us, so keep tuned for all the updates, recaps, and breakdowns, and we've got a conspiracy video on the way early next week. So until then, Bachelor Fantake, out.
I just waited so long for this.
You've just blown up The Bachelorette.